Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I will be showing you guys how you can create your own custom WordPress shortcode. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. So you'll notice here on my screen that I currently have the default 2020 WordPress theme installed. This is just a base installation. I don't have anything else installed on here. And I'm going to be adding a video shortcode to this theme. So I'm going to jump into Visual Studio Code. So I've already gone ahead here and I've created a PHP file. It's called youtubevideo.php, and this is going to be my YouTube video shortcode. So I'm just going to go ahead here and start coding. So I'm going to make a function. I'm going to call it PM underscore YouTube video. The PM is just a prefix, just to make sure it doesn't conflict with other functions within WordPress. It's always a good It's just always a good way to, keep your functions prefixed just to avoid any conflicts. So we want to pass in here our attributes parameter. And this attributes parameter is actually going to be importing our attributes that we pass in to the shortcode when we set it up in WordPress. So I'll show you guys that a little bit later on. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to use the PHP extract method. And we actually want to extract the values that are coming from the attributes parameter. And in order to do that, we need to use the WordPress shortcode attributes function. And then here we're going to pass in an array. And we're going to define the parameters that we want to extract. Okay, and I want this to come from attributes. Okay, so that's pretty much all we need here. So right now, for this video here, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm just going to be, we're just going to be capturing this video ID from the shortcode when we set it up in WordPress. All right, so basically here I'm just kind of setting a default. I'm just defining the video ID and I'm just giving it a default of an empty string. And then this value is actually going to get replaced with the value that we extract from the attributes parameter, right? So this might not make sense right now, but I'll explain a little bit further later. I think it'll make more sense later on in the video once we actually create the shortcode on WordPress, and I'll revisit this after so you guys can kind of get a better understanding of how this is actually working. All right, so we have our extract method in place. Now I actually want to do my HTML output code. So I'm just going to create an HTML variable. And this is actually where I'm going to be kind of breaking out my code into separate lines. So this is going to be video container. Okay, and then we want to pass in our iframe code here. Let's give it a width of 100%. I'll give it a height of, let's just say 400 pixels. And then I want the source. I'm just going to leave the source empty for now. And let me just close this off. Okay, so there we have our iframe, and then let me just close this div tag. All right, and then I want to add my return. So we need to return this HTML code. This is actually what's going to be outputting. If we omit this return, then nothing will actually get output on the front end. So we have to make sure that we have a return here and that we're actually returning this HTML variable, which is going to contain this div class here that we've created with a nested iframe. And actually, there's one little thing I forgot here. We actually need to append these to the original HTML variable that we defined. So it's very important that you have .equals here. Okay, so we have our iframe. Width is going to be 100%. And height is 400 pixels. Now we need to set up our source. So the source is going to be HTTPS www.youtube.com/embed/ and now we want to actually get our video ID, which is being defined here. So we can actually grab that, and we can just go escape attributes video ID. All right, so this video ID variable here is actually being provided to us by this extract method, right? Because this extract method is actually extracting video ID from this shortcode attributes function, right? So it's making it available to us, kind of like in a global space, I guess you can kind of think of it, and we're able to use it here. All right, so that's pretty much it for our shortcode. This is, it's a pretty simple shortcode. And so this, the purpose of this video is just to give you guys an idea of how shortcodes work in WordPress, and you could pretty much, add whatever HTML code you want here, whatever you want to output. So this could be, like a calendar or an image or, anything else you can think of, right? Now, in order for this to work, we need to use the Add Shortcode function, which is provided to us by WordPress. And I'm going to call this YouTube video. And I'm going to pass in the name of my function here, PM_YouTube video. Okay, so this is actually going to be the name of the function, or the name of the shortcode that we're going to use in the WordPress admin in order to call, or in order to execute this shortcode. All right, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to jump into functions really quickly because I need to include this. So I'm going to do include once, and this is located in my includes folder, shortcodes, YouTube video.php. Okay. All right, so that's been included now in my functions.php file. Here's the code, so this should work now. So I'm just going to copy and paste YouTube video, and I'm going to jump into WordPress. I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call this YouTube shortcode. And then in here, we are going to write a shortcode. So this is how you write a shortcode. YouTube video, and then video ID equals, and then we close the shortcode. And I actually have an ID saved here, so let me just copy and paste this in. Right, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how we write our shortcode in the WordPress admin. So I'm going to hit publish. Okay, and then I'm going to go to document and permalink and view page. Okay, so that is not outputting. YouTube video ID. Okay, so why is that not outputting? Add shortcode, YouTube video. That's our function. We have our HTML. Return our HTML. That looks correct. Shortcode attributes. Attributes is being passed into our shortcode attributes method. And we are extracting the video ID from that, so that looks correct. Include once, we have includes, shortcodes, YouTube video.php. Okay, that's all correct. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, so I see what the problem is. So you'll notice here in our shortcode we actually have a space in there, which we're not supposed to. So I'm just going to quickly fix that. So there shouldn't be a space at the beginning of the shortcode. At the end of the shortcode, it's perfectly fine to have a space in there, because here we're adding a space and then we're closing the shortcode. But at the beginning, that space will cause it to break. So let's remove that. Let's hit update. Let's hit refresh. And yep, okay, so there's our video. And that is working. Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay, so there you have it. That's pretty much how you create a shortcode in WordPress. So again, jumping to the front end here, or to the admin side, you'll see here that our YouTube video, right, the name of our shortcode corresponds with the name that we defined here in the Add Shortcode method. Okay, and the video ID is actually being passed in through this attributes parameter, right? And then we're extracting the value from that through this extract method, right? So extract, and then we're calling shortcode attributes, and we're getting the shortcode attributes from the shortcode that's being defined in WordPress. So essentially what we're doing here is we're just setting up the fields. We're basically, saying that these are the fields that we need. And then it's going to extract them from the shortcode being defined in the WordPress admin. All right, so we can actually add additional fields here if we wanted to. So I could actually create one for height. All right, and I'm going to give it a default of 200 pixels. And I'm going to hit save. So if I were to go back to WordPress and I hit refresh, you'll notice that that height value that I just created currently isn't being applied. It's actually not doing anything at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and hook it up here. So I'm going to hook it up in the code first. Escape attribute. We're going to get the height. Okay. And we got one too many of these guys here. That should be good. So you'll notice as of right now, okay, so right now it goes to 200 pixels because it's using that default value from WordPress, the value that I defined here. So this height is now being passed into my iframe code. And if I wanted to override that, I can actually define it here. And I can do height equals 400 pixels. Update. And then that puts it back to 400 pixels, which is what I originally had it set to. Alright, so that's pretty much how you define additional parameters for your shortcode. And then you can capture them in here. And if you have too many values, you can always break these down into separate lines. So you can just kind of break it down like this. Right, actually I kind of like to put that on a separate line as well. And then I guess put that there. That'll work too. So you can have additional fields here if you want. You could have one for width, or you can have the if you want to set the rel attribute, rel equals 0, or relative equals 1, or related, which is this here, rel equals 0. This rel actually stands for related, so you can show related videos. So you can set that to 0 or 1. But I think you guys pretty much get the idea of how shortcodes work now, and they're pretty easy to set up. And yeah, so that's pretty much how you create shortcodes in WordPress. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys found this useful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.